So for the next speaker, I'd like to introduce Sofie Levy. She is the reason this whole event actually started and the driving force for the continuation of it every year. I've gotten to know her over the last few days. She is a witty, clever, and very charming young woman with a very sharp sense of humor. And here she is, Sofie.
Hello, my name is Sofie and I'm here today to talk to all of you about my epilepsy story. In 2005, I had my first seizure. We were living in Los Angeles at the time. I had woken up and started to say a sentence, but couldn't get my words out. My mom decided to call the paramedics, but by the time they arrived, the episode had already passed. When I had a seizure, my right arm would start to twitch. I would see a white line in my right eye and my cheek would push itself up. These are known as partial complex seizures. I would feel the seizure coming on, but I wouldn't have any recollection of having the seizure. It was like someone had hit pause in my brain. When I felt the seizure coming, my parents would see me stop what I was doing. We had seen multiple doctors, one who misdiagnosed me with brain cancer. From then on, going to the doctor became a terrifying monthly ritual filled with tears, blood tests, and scans. One of the few ways of persuading me to calm down was to bribe me with a trip to Build-A-Bear once my tests were complete. After each appointment, I could count on my mom to fulfill her promise. Now I own an extensive collection of Build-A-Bear dolls. Despite all of the tests and toys, we still weren't getting the answers we needed. Epilepsy had been a distraction for me in school because I spent more days out of school than in, but during the time I was in school, there were people that helped me make it through the day. I remembered when I would have a seizure at school, it was a specific classmate that would always take me up to the nurse's office. They always waited for me and then brought me back to class when I felt ready. One time, a teacher had kept me after class to do some work since I had a seizure during the lesson. The combination of a large classroom, constant seizures, and feeling like I failed made it difficult to succeed in school. But it did not stop my teachers and I from figuring out a way to help me learn. This led to some pretty creative ideas. Eventually, I learned to compensate enough to do grade-level work and succeed in school. I remember I would get lost in my public school, but the faculty taped hearts to the wall that they cut out of paper. These were used to guide me back to my classroom. They knew where I was going because they had walked the halls before me. And now because my family and I have walked that path, I want to help guide other people who are struggling with seizures, inaccurate meds, unclear treatment plans, and uncertainty. Now I want to make the trail for you to follow. Maybe not with paper hearts, but purple ribbons instead. In 2009, my seizures had become more frequent, leading us to seek help from specialists in hopes of finding the cause of my seizures. Eventually, we met neurosurgeon Dr. Gary Mathern at UCLA, who, after having numerous consultations with us, suggested brain surgery. This was to remove the lesion that was causing my epilepsy. He had told us that this was taking a big risk because my lesion was so close to the part of my brain that controlled my language. We learned that I could have the surgery when I was 5. However, waiting increased the chances of a positive outcome. The final step in preparing for my surgery was the WADA test. The objective of the test was to make sure my language would not be affected when the surgery was complete. I was 9 years old when doctors performed the WADA test, clearing me for surgery. On February 27, 2009, the day of my surgery, my life was changed forever. Originally, I was told I would have to remain in the hospital for 2 weeks. However, I was able to be discharged after 2 days. I went from having many seizures a day to having none at all. Being seizure-free has allowed me to have lowered medication doses, focus more and live life to the fullest. Some of my hobbies include playing the ukulele, learning sign language, and listening to music. I have a t-shirt that says, "I had brain surgery, what's your excuse?" And it's funny because whenever someone sees me wearing it, they must think, oh, well, that explains a lot. I am proud of my experiences and my epilepsy journey. It has given me strength, courage, and a bold sense of humor. When I tell someone my story, sometimes they don't know what to say, so they'll say, "Oh, I'm sorry." And I always say the same thing to them. Thank you, but there is no need to be sorry because I'm fine. Although I appreciate your attempt to comfort me, there is no real reason to feel sorry for me. I am currently studying to become an EEG technician. In the future, I would hope to keep Epilepsy Awareness Day growing and continue living a seizure-free life. Having a seizure was like pushing the pause button on life, but I'm here to push the play button.